do these UFOs that we're seeing flying around in the sky, that people are seeing flying around in the sky, do they actually have consciousness, the machines themselves? Well, that is what a physicist is saying. Jack Sarfatti is an American physicist who has had many different theories, and he talks about his theories inside of these machines. And this is a longer clip. It's about a 2.5 minute clip. So I want to play this clip, and there's a lot of things that are said here that I want to discuss. So let's get into what Jack says, and then we'll talk about another side. Here it is.
When flying saucers fly. All right? And so that is control of gravity. Now, you get Elon Musk. What is Elon Musk saying these days? He wants to create Starfleet Academy, and he wants to make Star Trek real. Now, I've been saying I actually coined the phrase "make Star Trek real," and the other thing I can tell you is that a lot of the science fiction movies are actually preparations by the intelligence agencies, including the British and the American and even the Mossad, all of them, even the Russians actually, to prepare what's called disclosure, that we're not alone in the universe, and we are being prepared for to join the Galactic Federation. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that all of these movies, and by the way, I had something to do with the creation of some of these movies, like Back from the Future. I'm actually the inspiration for Emmett Brown in Back to the Future. That's in the book How the Hippies Saved Physics. This is San Francisco, North Beach, 1970s. Francis Ford Coppola was a buddy of mine, and part of his Rat Pack, and Spielberg and all these people introduced Jacques Vallée, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Star Trek. Oh, by the way, okay, so Star Trek, I must say, Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, was part of this project. And Roddenberry's whole idea for Star Trek, this could sound pretty crazy, but he was involved with a guy named Andrea Puhari, who was U.S. Army intelligence and CIA type of guy. He brought Uri Geller from Israel to, Uri Geller, the Israeli psychic. Any case, they had a group in New York, I guess in the early 70s, where they were doing channeling from this extraterrestrial entity, the Nine, and all this stuff. And the material for Star Trek is really based on these channelings, contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Now, I know it's going to freak out a lot of people, but this is, I'm giving it to you. But basically what I'm trying to tell you is that we're calling it Manhattan Project 2.0, and it is happening now. It's funded, and what I can say is that I'm not totally, I could be wrong, and everything in science could be mistaken, right? But the way it's looking right now is that within 3 or 4 years, hopefully we'll have our own kind of like flying, so we'll have these drones, that are controlling their local gravitational field. Forget rockets, everything, everything Johansson said, of course, is correct given that technology, but we don't need any of that technology. So this is a total replacement. No more jet planes, even battleships, aircraft. Well, we don't need aircraft carriers anymore anyway. They're obsolete. They're floating targets. But it's all going to be control of gravity, basically warp drive. But like Emmett Brown, the DeLorean. That's what I'm talking about.
So there's a lot there, obviously, when you see that. And if you're not following this topic at all and you come across that, and first of all, the guy's saying he's based off of Emmett Brown, they based Emmett Brown off of him, you'd go, who is this guy? Is there any merit to this? And the answer is very well, yeah, it could be. But the things that he's saying, if you dive deep enough into this topic and follow what has been saying, it's all within the realm of what everyone has really been talking about, right? In this field, the manipulation of gravity, how important consciousness is, the testing of these drones and what they are, the timeline on what disclosure within the next 3-4 years or along that. And he didn't necessarily say that in particular, but that's what we were leading up to. The thing I found fascinating also is a thing that I've been talking about when it comes to like movies, Hollywood movies. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of these movies are coming in and coming out in the fashion that they are, starting with Age of Disclosure, which is the documentary by some Hollywood people, leading into Spielberg's movie, leading into Kaczynski's movie, leading into a potential Trevorrow movie, leading into a bunch of these things, and one about Bob Lazar, which is the Trevorrow movie. They're getting greenlit all over the place now, these UFO movies. Now, how true it is to what he's saying that you're actually putting in information in those movies to soften the blow to the public, it's like subliminal advertising, more or less, right? So you could theorize why that would make sense. If it's, all right, here are these things, this is what we can put in there, just so people are not so foreign to the idea of it, even though they can say, well, this is something out of a movie. This is something great. Like, it seems like science fiction, but it's still an idea and a thought or something that you've seen, right? I mean, look at the video that I did the other day, Ross Caller talking about like the portal and how the portals and teleportation and things. And I said, when it came to technology that we have today, and you told somebody about the technology we have today 30 or 40 years ago, they're going to say, they never can come up with that. That's like science fiction stuff. That's never going to happen. So if you actually have access to those types of things and those types, that type of technology, that you have actively been studying it, to then get into a place where, you could manipulate gravity, you could use these types of drones, you're changing the way people are. He's talking a lot of military type of things, but just in general. And I want to give a shout out here to Skywatcher Signal, who not only posted that video, did a really good breakdown of it. So once again, if you look out, he even says that he laid out one of the wildest versions of the UFO tech argument that you're going to hear. He talks about, forget about the Mars missions. We don't need them. He said the breakthrough isn't better engines, it's control of gravity itself. That's not too crazy of a theory, as we've been saying, that there have been tons of people who are saying that that's kind of what these things do in general, is manipulate gravity and the anti-gravity stuff. And Jesse Michaels has been famously covering the anti-gravity stuff and how important that is for forever. He goes on to say that he was pulled out of academia decades ago by intelligence and defense-connected people to work on two problems: how consciousness works and how flying saucers fly, and he states that those two questions are connected. Sarfatti reveals that UFO propulsion is based on quantum corrections to Einstein's gravity equations, specifically involving spin, and that once you understand that, warp drive style flight isn't the stuff of science fiction. He says consciousness is built into the physics, that advanced craft are effectively living conscious machines, and that a lot of science fiction has been part of the long-running cultural preparation process for disclosure. Whether it's Star Trek Futures, Galactic Federation themes, and the idea that rockets are already obsolete, we just haven't been told. I mean, it's a good breakdown of it. And again, thank you to them for posting that on their X account. You should go and check them out. It's a good breakdown of it. Out of all the stuff that's the most fascinating to me, even though I talked like the subliminal messages throughout movies, absolutely 100% believe that could be something that they would do, that they'd be able to maneuver into things, and depending on who they're talking about, how much information certain people have about it, bringing in advisors and things of that nature. Sure. The consciousness aspect to me is still the most fascinating. I was on my other show. I do another show for people who don't know. I have another channel that I do every day that's more pop culture and movies and TV and things of that nature. And someone asked me, I did like a Q&A session on that. And someone asked me if I believed in like reincarnation and consciousness and all those. And so consciousness is to me, I think there's just so much more to it. And I think it has to do, my answer was that it has to do with science. It has to do with quantum physics. It has to do with things that we just don't necessarily understand, that this is more or less like a shield, and not in the way that people are talking about. I mean, maybe so with the simulation theory and all that. I don't know. That's a longer wormhole. But I do think that there's things here in our reality that we're just not capable with the technology we currently have to see. We have to abide by different rules. Just because we have to abide by those rules doesn't mean that everything in this universe on this planet abide by those rules. If you know how to abide by different rules through quantum physics, then that is absolutely possible. But the thing is that we don't see that as human beings. We see what's in front of us. We see the water bottle right here. That's what it is. There's water in there. I want to manipulate and make it disappear. I don't know how to do that. You don't know how to do that. I want to put it in a wormhole and go give it to someone else in a multiverse. I don't know how to do that. I don't even know if that's possible. But but the idea, and theoretically the idea of multiverses and wormholes and all that, like, that fascinates me. I think about the idea of like what it is like when we dream. Really, where is our consciousness actually when that's happening? A lot of people have different theories. People just think that your mind's working at a different speed, or you're accessing parts of your brain that you never did before. But all this stuff that he's saying and talking about, the stuff with the fact that the consciousness of these machines, like if you look at, let's say, AI today, I guess if I was asking you this question, whoever's watching this right now, and I'm asking you this particular question, I say to you, okay, in our world where we live right now, and Chat GPT and Grok or whatever AI program that is working in 2026, how significant do you think that program is going to be in 2046? And what do you think it'll be capable to do? If it had the progression that it had in the last 3 years, what will it have in the next 20? And if it does indeed get to a place in 20 years, which I can't even imagine what it'll be like in 20 years, where you can take AI, it's driving cars, it's flying planes, it's doing all these things that it would be able to do. If there was a type of civilization or a higher intelligence that had a different type of AI that could put that into ships and craft, is it as far-fetched in my 20-year scenario of AI? If there was indeed intelligence that had that kind of AI and manipulating time and space. It does sound very sci-fi-ish. It does. But when it comes to the rules of physics and quantum physics and all that, we don't know anything. And so when I hear this type of speech, I don't necessarily go, this is crazy talk. There's no way that any of this is true. I say the same thing that I always say. Very possible, wouldn't be surprised. I don't shut things down. The idea of consciousness, that it's not the first time it's been floated that these ships are non-piloted, aren't piloted by actual beings. Some are, some aren't. That's been out there. That's been a theory. I don't know. What do you make of these comments? Do you think that they're relevant? Do you think that they are just science fiction? Do you think it's more nonsense? Or do you think that there's something to it? I'd love to hear your theories on it. Please put your thoughts in there. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.